Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Christian and I'm here for the Shuffle Online School. Now in my last video on hopping, I gave away my #1 secret tip when it comes to becoming a better shuffler. If you haven't seen it yet, make sure to go ahead and check it out. Now for those of you that have already seen the video, you will probably agree with me when I say that hopping is rather a concept or a thing that you have to keep in mind all the time when shuffling rather than an actual move. So for today I thought, you know what, maybe I give you guys the top 5 moves that I think everybody should know that wants to be a good shuffler. One more thing before we start, at the end of this video I have a little surprise for those of you that really want to step up their shuffle game and really become good shufflers, or just cut their learning curve a little bit. But without further ado, let's jump into it. Okay, move #1 is going to be the running man. Surprise, surprise. Way! So there are already countless videos on YouTube on how to do the running man, but most of them, if not all of them, do actually not talk about what I think are very, very important tips and common mistakes that most people do when starting out. So before we cover these tips and mistakes and how to fix them, I want to show you my take on how to do the running man. Have a look. Let's start talking about the running man. This is how it looks, okay? Your starting position is going to look somewhat like this, okay? One leg being behind you, one leg being in front of you, okay? This is what it looks like from the front, okay? And this from the side again. Now, the running man consists of 2 separate movements, okay? The first step that you want to do is pulling the leg that is standing in front of you, pulling it slightly back, and at the same time, raising the leg that is standing behind you into the air, okay? It's going to look somewhat like this, okay? Very simple. Let me show you one more time. The second move is going to look somewhat like this. So we're going to place that foot down onto the floor, and with the other one we're going to pull it back at the same time, okay? So this is the position we're in after we finish the first step, and now we're going to do this. Okay, very simple, and that's it. That's the running man. I'll show you from the other side one more time. So this time, starting with this leg behind me. So what we want to do, very simple, step 1, step 2, step 1, step 2. Okay. Okay, so now that you've seen how to do the running man, I want to give you some tips on how to improve on your running man or some common mistakes that you can avoid. The first mistake that I see people make all the time is raising their knees way too high, okay? Most people, and sometimes even the guys doing the tutorials, they will raise their knees when doing the running man up to a point where the lower part of their leg and the upper part of their leg sort of form a 90-degree angle. You don't really want to do that. What you instead want to do is you want to lift your knee not as high so that your legs actually form a bit wider of an angle. Why is that? So when you raise your knees extremely high, first of all, it takes a lot more energy to move your knees higher. Number 2, with raising your knee higher, you actually prolong the movement, you actually make the range of motion longer. Now, what that does is, for the same time, which is with the time between a beat, or like between 2 beats I should say, we have the same time between that, but we want to do a longer movement, we have a bigger range of motion, okay? So what that does is that we have to do it quicker. And that oftentimes leads to our shuffling looking sloppy, a bit try-hardy, you know. So try to not raise your knees as high when doing the running man, okay? Second mistake that I see lots of people do is again related to the range of motion, okay? So most people when starting out, they will have a pretty big span between their 2 feet, between their 2 legs when doing the running man. Now that's not perfect again, because we have to overcome that space during the running man, and that again will make it so that we have to make our movements a lot quicker, and that will in turn make your shuffling look a lot less smooth and chill, and that's actually what we want to go for. We want it to look easy and chill and smooth. That's where the beauty in shuffling comes from, right? So again, try to keep the amplitude between your legs a bit smaller, so don't move them apart as much when doing the running man. Okay. So that was the running man. Let's jump into move number 2, which is the buffering running man. The buffering running man is a variation of the running man, as the name basically tells you. And this time, instead of having 2 separate movements that form the move, we actually have 4 movements, okay? Have a look. Okay, now let's talk about the buffering running man. First of all, what does it look like? I'll start out doing the running man and then transition into the buffering running man. Running man, buffering running man. Running man, buffering running man. Running man, buffering running man. Okay. That was it, very simple. Now how do we actually do it? First of all, starting position is going to look something like this again. So the regular running man starting position, okay? Now, this again from the side. Now, the first step is exactly the same thing. So you do this, okay? Just like with a normal running man. Now, instead of continuing the movement and fulfilling the running man, what you want to do is actually, you want to pull the leg that is elevated, you want to pull this leg back, okay? You want to pull it back, and at the same time, the leg that's standing behind you, you want to push it forward again, so that it is airborne, okay? I'm going to show you one more time. So, starting position, step 1, step 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can do this 20 times, even 50 times, or just once or twice, okay? So, I'm going to show you again from the other side how to do the buffering running man. So, step 1, elevating your leg. Step 2, pushing the leg that you're standing on, pushing it forward, and the one elevated, you just jump onto it, okay? So, something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? Very simple. A move that you're going to enjoy the hell out of once you've mastered it. But that was it. That was the buffering running man. Okay, welcome back. So now that you've seen the buffering running man, I have to tell you that I can't give you too many tips on it, just because there isn't too much that you can do wrong when doing the buffering running man. One thing that you should maybe keep an eye on is keeping your legs straight, okay? Now with the normal running man, when we do the first part of the running man, we want to elevate our leg into the air and then have it bent a little bit, right? Now with the buffering running man, you don't want to bend your leg, you actually want to keep it straight. Why is that? We usually want to repeat the buffering running man 2 or 3 times. This is where the name comes from, right? So, having a repetitive movement, you would want that movement to look exactly the same every single time you do it. Now, if you decide to lift up your leg and bend your leg, you will have an angle between the 2 parts of your leg, right? So each and every time that you want to do the buffering running man movement, you will have slight variations in the angle that you're creating, right? Now, with keeping your leg straight, we evade that and thereby make it so that it's easier for us to have our respective repetitions look similar, okay? And that in the end will translate to a much more visually appealing buffering running man. That's the only tip I can give you for the buffering running man, so let's continue with step number 3, which is the T-step. The T-step, just like the running man, is one of the most frequently used moves in the entirety of shuffling, and it's very versatile. There are lots of variations to the T-step, but for today we are going to focus on the easiest and most basic variation of the T-step. Now let's have a look at it. T-step. Okay, let's talk about the T-step real quick. First of all, what does it look like? Starting position is going to be this, and woo! Okay, the spin wasn't part of the T-step. Now, let's stop joking. So the normal T-step will look something like this. Okay. A variation to it, which you probably will get to pretty quickly, is placing your feet anywhere, okay? How do we actually do the T-step? Let's have a look. So first of all, starting position is going to look something like a T, okay? My legs are placed like this. Not sure if you can see it. Let me show you real quick. This is my leg placement right now, okay? So I have this leg pointing to my left. Now I'm using my right leg, okay? I'm placing it right in the middle of my left foot, okay? So that they form a 90-degree angle, sort of like a T, so it looks something like this, okay? Now what I want to do, and again the T-step is a two-step movement, what I want to do is for step one, this, okay? This is step one. It's nothing but elevating the right leg, in my case, doing a slight hop, and at the same time pushing the front part of my left leg, pushing it over to the side, okay? And all my weight is resting on the back part of my foot for this movement. Second part is placing this foot back down, and at the same time push the back part of your foot into the direction you want to go, okay? So this part. For the second move, or second movement I should say, my body weight is resting on the front part of my foot. So now that you've seen how to do the T-step, what are some tips on it? Okay, so as I said in my video on hopping, whenever you have to deal with friction in shuffling, you really want to make use of hopping so that you reduce the friction and make it easier for you to move across the floor. This is very important with the T-step, okay? So have a look at the hopping video again. In the beginning of every single movement, try to do a hop followed by moving your feet across the floor. Okay, that's going to make the T-step a lot easier. And then the second thing is play around with your foot placement a little bit, right? So obviously we're going to have one foot standing on the floor all the time, moving sideways, but the other one, the one that we elevate, we can actually play around with the placement. So we don't have to go back to the T position, but we can actually place our feet wherever we want, okay? Sorry for making these weird hand movements. Okay, so I think you get the point. So play around with the placement of the foot that is airborne, right? Third thing, most of the time people try to cover a lot of distance, and this is the same thing with the running man, right? People try to make it so that the amplitude and the range of motion is really, really big and large, right? Instead of trying to cover, let's say, a meter with one T-step, like 1, 2, and then you want to have that distance covered, try to divide that meter that you want to cover into 2 T-steps, right? So 1, 2, then you're at half of the meter, and then again 1, 2, and then you've finished the entire meter that you wanted to cover with your T-step. This is again just going to make it a lot more chill and smooth and better, just better. Take it as a tip. Now, let's talk about move number 4, which is the sidestep, okay? The sidestep is one of my favorite moves in the entirety of shuffling, just because I like jumping around. Okay, now jokes aside, the sidestep is a really, really great move. It's pretty similar to the running man and the buffering running man. It has like some similar elements. But before I talk more nonsense, have a look at how it's done. Okay, let's talk about the sidestep. First of all, what does it look like? Sidestep is going to look pretty similar to the buffering running man. I'm going to show you what I mean. So, I'm going to start with the running man again, and then transition into the sidestep. Okay, so running man, sidestep, running man, sidestep. Okay. Running man, sidestep, running man, sidestep, running man. Okay, you get the idea. How do we actually do it? The sidestep is pretty similar to the buffering running man actually. So, starting position is going to be this again. Excuse me. This is the starting position again. Now what we want to do is movement 1, exact same thing as with the running man. That, okay? Again, that. Movement 1. Movement 2. And I'm going to show you from the front, okay, I'm still having this position, and show you from the front. What you want to do now is you want to put this leg to the outside of your body, and you want to move your upper body alongside, okay? So, from this to this. At the same time, you want to push this leg, the leg that you're standing on, you want to push it into the air, okay? So like this. So basically what you do in step 3 is going from this back to the position that you had once you finish the first movement, so the basic running man move, so to say, right? And then after that it's just fulfilling the running man. That's the side step, and obviously the same thing works for the other side, okay? Very simple, yet very cool move. Now that you've seen how to do the side step, here's a little tip on it, okay? Instead of moving just your leg outside, okay, so we do our little side step. So this is the second movement of the 4-step move, okay? So in the second movement, we put our foot to the side. Now instead of just putting your foot to the side and the weight of your foot, you actually want to shift your entire body weight onto that foot. And then in the third movement, you want to push the entirety of your body weight, not just your leg, but also your upper body, which you have transferred the weight of onto your leg in the second movement, right? You want to push yourself back. That's just going to make your side step look a bit cooler and smoother again, because you have this rapid change of directions, right? You move your entire upper body to the right, but then it's like, joke's on you, I'm going back, okay? If you practice it a little bit, it's actually going to become a lot easier, and again, it gives you this sort of jumpy feeling. I don't know, it's just so much fun. This is the tip I can give you on the side step. Other than that, there's not much to say besides practice, practice, practice. Okay, so the last move of today, move number 5, is going to be less of a move, but rather a guideline, I would say. And it actually has to do something with our arms. The first thing that we can use, the movement that I'm going to show you in a second for, is getting an introduction sort of to our movements, because when starting out, most people just focus on their legs, and I get why. Like, getting your legs to do what you want them to do when shuffling is really hard in itself, okay? And then taking your arms into account as well can be kind of tricky, okay? So most people just start out practicing leg movements, right? Now there is going to be a time where you have to implement your arms, because it doesn't matter how cool your movements with your legs look, if your arms are just like hanging beside your body, not doing anything, it's going to look weird. So we're going to use this movement as sort of an introduction to our movements, getting used to using our arms when dancing, okay? Second thing is the movement that I'm going to show you in a second is going to help you keep the beat, okay? Because, yeah, you're going to see how that pans out in a second. And the third thing that this movement is helpful for is keeping momentum and helping with hopping a little bit, right? Because I'm going to show you in a second that the movement is going to look somewhat like this. Let me just show you what I mean instead of talking about it for ages. As I said, we're going to talk about arms now, and the move that I want to show you is very simple. It's just this, okay? Nothing more, nothing special, I know, but trust me, it will help you out a lot. Put on some music and try to hit the beat during that movement, okay? Always try to stay on beat with that. Once you've mastered this, you can try and do leg movements at the same time as doing this. This will improve your shuffling by a lot, I will tell you. And don't worry, there are going to be videos on how to use your arms properly in the future. Obviously you can play around with the placement a little bit, so you can do this and then you can use one arm, you can use 2 arms, it doesn't matter. The important thing is that you always hit the beat, okay? That's the important thing here. Okay, so that was it. These were my top 5 moves that I think everybody should know if they want to become a good shuffler. I hope you enjoyed it. As I said in the beginning of this video, for those of you that really want to step up their shuffle game and cut their learning curve by a lot, I have a surprise for you right now. So, as some of you may know, I have shuffled for more than 10 years right now, and I have been born and raised in Berlin, Germany, and besides practicing at home and stuff, I also had some influence from the Berlin rave and techno scene, right? So I think I know what I'm talking about when dancing. When I was 10 years old, I went to YouTube and tried to find some videos because there were no dancing schools where you could learn shuffling. I was pretty disappointed back then because there wasn't too much content on shuffling, so I sort of had to learn by myself. After these 10 years have passed and I have obviously become a bit better of a dancer, I went back to YouTube and had a look at it again and was very disappointed again, I have to say, because Nothing much has changed. There are a few tutorials on the running man, T-step, kicks and spins, but that's about it, right? I thought, you know what, I have the knowledge and I have the skill set to make the thing that I was looking for, that I know could have helped me when I was starting out shuffling. So I did it. I created a course. It's all about shuffling. You're going to find more than 25 moves in there, as well as how to do them, how to combine different moves, how to find your own style, and all sorts of different things all about shuffling. It's a bit longer than 3 hours right now, and I'm continuously updating it. So if you feel like you want to cut your learning curve a little bit or just become a better shuffler, make sure to check it out. It's good for beginners and advanced people. You're going to find a link down in the description. Other than that, I thank you very, very much for your time. Enjoy practicing, and I see you at school.